Sarvangasana, shoulder stand in the Ashtanga yoga practice. I am going to do the full sequence with the traditional count and the drishti, and then we are going to break it down into one part at a time because it's a little bit longer sequence than the shoulder stand in here. So let's start from downward facing dog. Sapta, jump through. Or any way you want, just come down to seated and then lie back flat. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now inhale as you rise up into Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. The gaze is Nasara Drishti towards the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ashto, exhale into Halasana, Nasara Drishti step. Keep your toes pointed. And if you can, interlace the hands behind you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ashto, as you exhale, bend your knees into Karna Pindasana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rise into Urdhva Padmasana. Now inhale up. Bring your legs into lotus if you can. Still Nasara Drishti towards the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pindasana. Still Nasara Drishti. Embrace your lotus if you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now Matsyasana, roll out. Keep the lotus if you have it. I'll slide a little bit higher here. Moving into Matsyasana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now Uttana Padasana. Still Nasara Drishti. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Desha as you exhale and roll out into Chakrasana. Ekadesha, inhale up dog. Dvadesha, exhale, downward facing dog. And that's basically the traditional shoulder stand. Now, let's break it down into parts. And let's start with the fact if you can do a shoulder stand, or for whatever reason you're not allowed to go into full inversion, just know that you can lie down and do Viparita Karana. You'll get the same benefit of a fresh blood coming into the brain. It's very invigorating, helps with the digestive tract. So imagine you have a wall, and actually, I'm going to use this chair. And imagine that this is the wall. Okay? So you'll sit like this sideways next to the wall, and then slowly swing one leg up, and then swing the other leg up, and slowly lie back. So again, in this position, Viparita Karana, it's a great restorative approach. You can open your legs really wide on the wall to get a stretch on the inner legs, or just keep them up here. Another great release it can create, and kind of heart opener. If you use a blanket, bend your knees, push into the wall, and as you push into the wall, lift the hips up and slide the blanket under, then release the hips up and extend the legs back up. Again, you can add another blanket or something heavier on top of the feet. Very grounding, feels really good. Release the arms down. If you have another blanket again, it's very comforting if you place it right here on the abdomen, especially if you're doing this variation that it's very restorative. I highly suggest holding it for a few minutes longer. So this would be the modified variation, super easy approach. If you can go into an inversion, I highly suggest to start to practice with the wall if you don't have enough strength to hold your body weight up. So from here, press the feet into the wall, lift the hips up, push, 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 push up. Then slide your hands as high as you can up the lower back. Don't do what I'm doing as I'm looking at the camera so you can guys hear me, but make sure that your head remains neutral. So keep the head in a neutral position. A lot of the injuries actually happen due to us looking left and right when you're in a shoulder stand. It's a pretty deep stretch on your cervical, on your neck. So pay attention. If you do this every day and you're very bendy and you have a regular practice, most likely you're going to be perfectly okay. But now if you don't, please, 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 just be very gentle with that and try to watch the video first, then approach it practicing the art of listening, just using your ears to hear rather than the visual. And watch it first. So you can actually keep your head in a neutral position. From here, you're gonna push your feet into the wall. And as you push them so much, you're gonna float the hips up. This might be enough and you can just have the arms here, or try to practice bringing them down the lower back. From here, using the wall, maybe play with extending one leg at a time up, and then switch. The opposite, and switch. And work with this till having both legs up becomes easy. Notice you don't wanna swing back, so you wanna stack your feet over your knees, knees over the hips, hips over the shoulders. So imagine like you have sand on your feet, and you don't want your feet to be over your face because then the sand will fall right on your face. Keep your feet over your hips. Create a straight line and move the chin a little bit away from the chest so you're not overly straining and stretching the neck. Same way, you're gonna bend your knees, tap into the wall, and then slowly release it all the way out. Can I do something? Okay. Because I got to get over right there for a moment. Okay, good girl. You're a good girl. That's my angel. Good girl. Stay here. So, sorry guys for that. She injured her foot too. Anyway, so this is one approach using the wall, and I'm just using the chair to demonstrate. Now, let's work a little bit more. And look into other little approaches. If you feel like you have a lot of strain in the back of your neck doing it, using 2 blankets, it's a really, really great way to minimize overstretching the back of the neck and to actually give your neck more space and room. So here, you're gonna fold them like this on top of one another, making sure you can guys see it. It often helps. I'm gonna demonstrate it using the mat in a second, but I want you to see it from this perspective. So once you come down, you want to have the edge of your shoulders right at the edge in here, and then the head goes down. See what it does? allowing the cervical to have its natural curve still, instead of having it too flat and too jammed. So elevate in here, and then you're gonna try to approach your shoulder stand from here. You see what that does? Gives me a lift, and then the shoulder heads are not creeping forward. You can go on top of the shoulder head. You see what I'm doing? Roll the shoulder heads under, 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 under. So basically, what often happens, the shoulder heads creep forward. Once you use the elevation, it really gives you the space and the range of motion to roll the shoulder heads up and back, and squeeze the shoulder blades together so you're on top of the shoulder heads. Now let's approach it from the side view. Yeah, you can always place them under your mat. And the reason I suggest under the mat, because then if you're a little slippery, you might feel like you're not sliding. So add the blankets. I'm gonna just add them under the yogi toe. So here, I'm gonna place them like this, so you guys can still see it with the color difference in here. So two on top of one another, and then I'm gonna cover my yogi toe on top of it, so I'm not sliding. Again, you can put your mat fully on top of it. So you can see. I'm gonna sit again here and lie back. Now, don't sink down. Don't let the shoulders sink down. Your shoulders stay on the elevation, and put it as high as you need to. If you need to protect your neck, go as high as you need to with the blankets. So as you have now the shoulder tips here in the alignment with the elevation, keeping the head neutral, as you can see that there is more space right now for my neck, slowly reach the legs up. And again, you can use these with blankets still using the wall, so you can just press your feet into the wall, and from here lift the hips up. Now from here coming up, now notice what I'm doing with my one shoulder. I'm going under, put the shoulder head down, roll it under, then roll the opposite one under, under, and lengthen up. And you can actually see how this, using the blanket, makes it very accessible to create this tall straight line. So not sinking here, this is where you end up with actually wrist issues because you're putting too much weight. Really lengthen up, up, up. Lengthen the sides of the waist, the back of the body, and the front of the body equally, and do your best to remain right on top of the shoulder heads. Now from here, moving into Halasana, the one where you bring your legs up and over. Practice at the beginning, because that will take you way deeper on the cervical. So if you have any serious issues or surgery done on the cervical, skip it altogether. You can just use it like this with blankets and stick to the even like here. And legs up the wall. But then with this one, if you're just doing legs up the wall, great approaches if you let your shoulder heads open up in here. So you're actually creating space on the thoracic spine. And you can check the back bend section. There's a couple of variations that I demonstrated there. But this is as well a great way with legs up the wall. The spine has a support. You see what's happening in here? I'm just creating that little thoracic opener. It's the part of the body that first starts to round due to us sitting and spending a lot of time in the seated position. So this is another great way to have a heart opener. If you slide tiny bit, just so you're right off with the shoulder heads and legs up the wall. Now, if you are going into a full shoulder stand, you do not want to go from here, okay? Because this will drop you into it, but you're going to have a hard time trying to find the shoulder stand. For a shoulder stand, you have to keep your shoulders right on top of the support. Now, for the next pose, Halasana, we're going to use a chair. And you can add blocks or more elevation if you need to build up to it. So the first step in here, sorry, Angel, I'm demonstrating. So the first step in here, as you have down, you float up. Now to lower your legs up and over, slide the shoulder under and under. Now from here, just extend the legs and rest them on top of the chair. So practice just being here. Now in this one, we interlace the hands together. This, if it's not accessible, you can just try to stretch the arms out, or you can use the strap to start to work on bringing them closer together. If this is too easy, and slowly you're gonna get rid of the elevation in here and take your feet up a little bit lower onto the chair. And when that's easier, and let me now on this one add a little work on what you can do using the strap to create some more space and open up the shoulders. So here, you want to measure it when you make a loop, but it's pretty much from one shoulder head to the other shoulder head. And this is really helpful if you have an assistant, a friend, or someone at home that you can actually ask them for help. So that way it gets a little challenging to do it on your own unless you've done it a million of times before. You're gonna slide one hand under, and then lift the hips and slide the opposite arm under. So the situation in the back of the body is this. You have strap, loop on both ends, and have it on top of your elbow, so on the upper arms. Now from here, as you lie back, you will notice that immediately the shoulder heads cannot creep forward. They will roll it open. Now from here, as you release the head down, keeping the length, try to come up. And this is a great way because often our elbows, when we come up, spill apart. So using the strap, right now the elbows have to stay shoulder distance apart. Now from here, as you start to practice, maybe practice doing one leg at a time. Tap with one, then tap with other. If the hamstrings are not open, feel free to micro bend the knees. It could be here, and add a little pillow for your feet. No pressure. So up from here. Now the hands will go back, and you will interlace them together. And then try to lower the feet down, keeping your toes pointed. And again, don't collapse on the pelvis. Lengthen up, 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 up. So the pubic bone and the tailbone are reaching up equally. And try to practice interlacing the hands together and switch the interlace of the fingers, or if it's too much, just keep the arms straight. For Karna Pindasana, you're gonna drop the knees up and over the ears. For many, that's intense. Just play with doing one leg at a time, and then the opposite. One leg, and then the opposite till you get comfortable to do both at the same time. Now for the next variation, going into Urdhva Padmasana, where you come up and you bring your legs into lotus. If lotus is not accessible, please just know you can just bring the soles of the feet together and just hold it here for a few deep inhales and exhales. And then for Pindasana, just cross the shins like this and try to embrace it in. Just a little bit. And always play with switching. And that's if you can do lotus. If you can do lotus comfortably, we're gonna do it right now, and I'm gonna do them facing you guys right now on this round. So let's now slowly, I'm gonna get rid of the elevation in here. So I'm gonna move the blankets. If you are a beginner, if you have anything going on with your neck, please, please, please do stick to doing the variations and use the blankets. They're very handy. I still use them in my practice, especially on the days when I feel like I have a lot of strain and I teach too many classes, demonstrate too many, I overly push my body. It is necessary to really learn to listen to your body and slow it down. So almost always I use the restorative shoulder stand, especially if I'm planning to do it for 10-15 minutes. We spend majority of our day standing, so doing longer inversions is something I highly, highly, highly suggest. It's very beneficial, and as I said earlier, you do not have to do a headstand, you do not have to do a handstand, you do not have to do a shoulder stand at all. You can just lie down flat, extend your legs up the wall, and that's more than enough. So from here, I am going to do the final sequence right now, Halasana, Karna, Pindasana, so you guys have a different view, and the lotus approach. So when you go into Halasana, all the shoulder stand sequence, the shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, Halasana, Karna, Pindasana, Urdhva Padmasana, Pindasana, Matsyasana, and Uttana Padasana. It's all Nasara Drishti. Till we do the backward roll Chakrasana, that's where the Nabi Drishti, the gaze is towards the navel. So let's approach it here. As you lie down flat, you breathe for 5 deep inhales and exhales. And then on Nawa, you inhale as you rise up into your shoulder stand. You hold the shoulder stand traditionally for 10 to 15 deep inhales and exhales. Once you held it for 10 deep inhales and exhales, Ashtanga, you're gonna exhale as you lower your feet up and over. Keep the toes pointed, so don't tuck it under. Point, point, point. And know that you might feel a little cramping sensations, and it's a really nice stretch at the front of the foot. Hands can support the lower back if you need to, or interlace the hands behind you as you hold it here for 8 deep inhales and exhales. Then slowly, Karna Pindasana, you're gonna lower your knees up and overhead for another 8 deep inhales and exhales. Now that we're here, there is another really great option, is if you try to bring both knees to one ear And then bring both knees towards the opposite ear. And the reason I love this one, because it's such a great release on both sides of the sacrum. So, from here now, we're moving into Urdhva Padmasana, up and over, where you bring your legs in lotus. Often, traditionally, in Ashtanga, we always do the right leg and then the left. I always alternate, because it's all about balance. So once you bring your legs in lotus, you want to create a little pressure on your knees to push them up. Keep lengthening the sides of the waist. The pubic goes up, the tailbone goes up. You hold it for 8 deep inhales and exhales. And then you slowly lower your lotus and you try to embrace it. Now I highly suggest, if you can do comfortably lotus, I highly suggest alternate with your legs. So some days the right leg goes in first, some days it's the left. So you're still bringing balance. And 2. 8 deep inhales and exhales. And again, and you try to embrace the lotus. Back up. Now, if you can't do lotus, as I said a second ago, you can practice here. And again, play with one arm at the time. Switch. Up. The more you get on top of the shoulder head, the more it is easier to find the balance and bring your hands to your knees. Again, you can practice with legs just like this crest. Or here, if you don't have the lotus, and then the Pindasana, you can just practice from here, crossing the shins. Just squeeze them, squeeze them, squeeze them in as you allow the knees to drop towards the ears. Switch the crossing. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then slowly roll out of it. Traditionally, if you have lotus, your legs will remain in lotus, and you're going to try to grab your feet as you bring the head up and over. So let's have a lotus in here. You can see my feet now. And Masada Drishti towards the tip of the nose for 8 deep inhales and exhales. So you're trying to really lift the chest up, open the heart. And then you bring the legs into Uttana Padasana. And then from here, we roll out and move into the backward roll, Chakrasana. So let's do here this last little part. So if you can't bring your legs, as it's a traditional approach, into lotus, lifting the chest up, bringing it to the crown of the head, grab the feet and lengthen. Then we go into Uttana Padasana here. Still keeping that lift. Almost imagine someone is pulling your heart up, 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 up towards the sky. If you can't do lotus, just know you can have any comfortable cross-leg position in here, or even legs straight. That's perfectly okay. Come onto your elbows. Lift the chest and the sternum up. So notice how the shoulder heads want to creep forward and the chest is collapsed. Lift up. Roll them up and back. Up and back. Let the head hang back, and then walk the elbows towards your hips. Keep walking till you find the crown of the head on the ground. You can still use your elbows. Don't collapse. Push up. Keep working the back muscles to lift up, 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 up. And gently from here, this can be more than enough. If you're comfortable, maybe practice just moving it up so you're really working your back muscles. And another great thing, if you have a friend or someone at home, you can grab for a little help. Or again, keep the strap in here. Elbows next to the hips. Lift the chest. Walk the elbows, walk the elbows, walk the elbows till you find the crown of the head down. Now, if you have a friend, the strap will go on the upper back, thoracic, and pull up, pull up, pull up. So you're not collapsing. Rather, from here, you can find a little bit more depth. Keep lifting the heart up. And again, you can just start to prepare here for Uttana Padasana. And maybe for the beginning, just bend your knees. Keep the feet flat. Do it here. Then practice adding one leg at a time till you're comfortable doing both of them. And that's basically shoulder stand.